Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, welcoming you back to another edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. We will recap week 2 action across the NFL, but I will make a point known. I'm going to take full responsibility for my actions. I was a little bit wound up and hyper after this past week in football, and some disagree with my comments, my actions when such football teams fell and said football team of my following won. But you don't.
I'm taking over this intro. Kirby, that was awful. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome all to another episode 206 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. We will be talking about week 2 football. And let me get the stuff ready. I'm not ready to go here. Sorry. This is a terrible intro. Let's go.
Carlos Martinez carrying the show once again with the incredible intros. We will get him on in just a moment. But for our sponsors of the Kirby on Sports podcast, we got to thank them for all their love, all their support. PM Plus Reserve, Shenandoah Primitives, Transformative Alignment Group, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Barrett, Pest, and Termite Services, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, Shenandoah Music, and Don't Sleep Energy, the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast. It's now time to welcome in our team. We're going to do the best we can tonight, I must say, as we are recording. We're not super high energy, but we're going to get it done. The weapon, Dan Dembski. Dan, good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Doing all right, man. Glad to be here. Week 2 is come and gone, man. It's already going by fast. It's pretty crazy.
Oh my gosh, it is going by crazy. And you heard this man, the new intro man, the back-to-back reigning, defending 3-belt owner, Kirby on Sports PickEm champion, a legend in these parts, Carlos, the Swiss Army knife, Martinez.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Well, gentlemen, it's an honor and a pleasure. I guess let's just dive right into it with the simple question. A lot of interesting storylines in week 2. How'd you like week 2 in general?
A lot of upsets. Our pick'ems took a big hit, but we're still all doing better than we were last year.
Yeah, it was an interesting week. It just kind of builds off of week 1, which was also interesting. But this week, probably more so, more surprises. But maybe that's a sign of things to come for the NFL season. We shall see.
It's crazy,
but I enjoyed it. I like the upsets for the.
Okay,
for
but
the
you know what I didn't enjoy? 10 games in the early window.
Yeah,
that's
terrible.
Diabolical. Like, what are we doing? Like, the NFL, what are we doing, man? Like, I couldn't keep up with anything in the first block. It was literally impossible.
Yeah,
that's they got to fix that. That's not good.
Why are we doing 10 games at 1 o'clock? Like,
I don't know.
Like, I understand you wanted everybody to be watching Bengals Chiefs, but at the same time, it's like, dude, like, we don't need what am I supposed to do right now? Like, I don't know how to watch all these games.
It was not possible.
Like, red zone was like a nightmare because like it was like you were here, then you were here, you were like and they couldn't stay in one place.
Yeah,
I'm like, but I want to know what's happening here. Like, what are we doing?
Right.
So just a couple of my thoughts. It started Thursday night. Obviously, Tua down with another concussion. Obviously, thoughts and prayers to him, but that's a pretty serious situation that has the league talking and buzzing about numerous things. Oh, he should retire. It should be his decision. I'm not going to chime in about that, but I just hated to watch that and see him go down again. And it's just really tough to see that.
Yeah, it's brutal. He's a guy that's had, 3 concussions in 4 seasons, or 4 concussions in 3 seasons. I may have that backwards. He's had a ton of concussions in a short amount of time. And if you remember last year, I believe he had 2 in the span of, Carlos might have to check me on this, maybe 3 weeks or something like that. He had 2 concussions last year.
No, this was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Last year he didn't have it. As far as I'm concerned, he didn't have any.
He didn't have any. That's right. So this is his 3rd concussion then.
But
yeah.
he had what people officially reported 2, what many people think is 3 in the span of like 5 weeks or something like that.
Right. I can't understand why he would want to continue playing at this stage.
Because this is all he knows. I mean, this is the unfortunate thing about the life of a top athlete like this, is that this is all they know. This is what they work for. This is what they've dreamed of. They feel like they owe this to the people who invested so much into them, that it's hard for them to walk away, because it's scary to walk away from something that you've done your whole entire life. Think about it. Tua's been playing football since he was, a little boy. This is all he knows. He only knows football. I'm not saying he doesn't have other, things going on outside of football, but what I'm saying is, like, his life has revolved around football. Football has given him the access, the avenue, the platform to be able to, do the things that he's able to do.
Great point.
And he's only, how old is he? 26, I want to say.
I would say mid-20s.
He's late to mid to late 20s. He's not an old guy at all, but it's just he's really, and by all accounts, it looks like he's not planning on retiring, but he has been put on IR, so he will be missing the next 4 games for sure. By all accounts, it doesn't look like he doesn't want to retire. So everybody's kind of have to respect that decision and understand that he's gonna make this is his life, this is his choice. Nobody can force him to retire. Nobody should force him to retire, in my opinion. Do I agree? Am I concerned for his health? Yes, 100%. I'm definitely concerned for his post-playing health. This is a lot of concussions to take, consecutively in a few years, but you gotta have faith in the medical teams. You gotta think he's got to have people around him that are going to be helping him try to heal from this and all that. But Tua's definitely he does have to start thinking about his long-term future, because, there's life after this. And we've seen what, CTE has done to former players, and CTE is a very real thing, and it's something that we don't fully understand yet, because we can only see the effects of it after, said person who has it has passed away. So we don't know a lot about it, and he needs to be very careful and needs to understand that, people are only calling for his retirement because they are concerned for him, and that's it. And it's not because we don't think he can play. It's just we want him to be able to have a life outside of the game.
Yeah, and we don't really even understand concussions to the full extent either. I mean, we know a little bit. We don't know about really we know what compounding concussions over years and years can look like, and that's what CTE is is what that leads to, is the continued trauma over and over to the head. It's Carlos nailed it. I mean, it's really all about his health right now. It's all about his future. He's got to think about those things, because there is a life after football. He's not going to be able to do this forever. There's been a lot of guys who we've seen, and probably some former players who are going through it now, who don't talk about it publicly or have never talked about it publicly. I'm sure there's more than we know who are experiencing those types of things after playing the game of football, having undiagnosed concussions, or just playing through concussions for years and years. So it's a big concern. And anyone who's a football fan who understands that, safety is the utmost importance of the NFL. So obviously, I think him going on IR is a good move. there's no reason for him to come back anytime in the short term, I don't think, and make sure he's completely as healed as he can be before he gets back out there. And I just hope he plays the game a little less aggressively, if that makes sense, because the hit on last Thursday was, I mean, that was just not good. I mean, he led with his helmet, essentially head down, what you're told exactly not to do in football. So that's concerning and alarming. And I think players across the NFL are going to see that and, know that we have to take care of our bodies, we have to take care of our minds, and that's the number one thing. So if he thinks it's best for him to keep playing, then go for it. But I think people are calling for him to retire former players. I saw a player that is a neurologist now who's studied concussions and things like that. Like, I saw what he had to say, and he had some interesting points. But it's really all up to Tua and the doctors around him to make that determination. So, again, I just hope he takes it easy. Hope he takes it easy because he's really had a rough go of it the last few years. So, thoughts out to him for sure.
So with that, obviously the Tua thing, and other than that, not really too many big storylines. I mean, you have Bryce Young getting benched, which is not really worth speaking into.
Yeah.
More than that, but a lot of interesting nuggets we can take away from this week. But yeah, with that, I just wanted to touch on that. I think that was a big one. So I appreciate you all listening to a conversation, because I know it's a tough thing to see, and any way you look at it, any way you look at it, it's just a tough situation. You have people saying one thing and the other, and ultimately it's his decision alone. But at the same time, it's like, give him respect, let him heal, and figure out what the next step is, because I'm sure a lot of things have blown up, especially right after it happened. And McDaniel talking to the press about it and stuff, asking questions about Tua that I believe he's sort of uncomfortable with.
Yeah, it's not comfortable for a head coach to have to answer those questions. You got to think about the position he's in. He wants to protect his quarterback, but at the same time, he's well aware also of the risks of this sport that they all play and they coach and stuff like that. So you gotta try to find a fine line between being a coach and answering the questions, but also understanding that I love my players and I want to make sure I protect them as well. So it's very tough. It's very tough.
Absolutely, for sure. So we're going to take a short break. We have a lot more to cover, and when we return, we'll talk about some of our teams and how they did this week in a very interesting and exciting week 2 in the NFL. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PickEm Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. All right, and we welcome you back to the Kirby on Sports podcast with the weapon Dan Dembski and the Swiss Army knife Carlos Martinez. So glad you are with us talking week 2 across the NFL. One game that we are going to start with, and I have a lot of questions I'm hoping you might be able to answer here, Dan. But
ask away, because you don't want me to start ranting. That's not what this is for.
The Raiders.
It's gonna happen.
At some point, I'll get going.
You know what? I'm just gonna do it. Dan? What the hell? What's wrong with your team? What's going on? Huh? Talk to me, big guy.
Dude,
talk to me. Y'all talked all that. Y'all talked all that noise. Especially after the Chiefs game. I'm talking about your guys. I'm talking about your boys. I'm talking about your boy Roquan. I'm talking about your boy Likely. What happened? You guys lost to the Raiders. What's going on?
There's something not right in that locker room, man. Something's off.
I told you. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, Dan. It's a poison. It's a poison.
Yep. I agree with Carlos. I feel like something's going on that everybody needs to take 2 steps back, evaluate the picture in front of them, and get back in, because this team.
We can start with this. All right. This is what the head coach's job is, right? The head coach is to reel everybody in. All right. It was a very emotional loss on Thursday night, the first game of the season.
Agreed.
The Ravens were upset and said some really dumb things, and probably said some dumb things for several days after that. I'm not going to deny that at all. The head coach needs to get the team refocused at that point. And this game is an example that John Harbaugh is incapable of doing that, because they came out even more rusty on offense. Defensively, at least in the first half, I thought they were pretty decent. I will say, for the most part. Now, once Devontae Adams got rolling in the second half and they made Gardner Minshew look like prime Peyton Manning, it's another story. But
Gardner Minshew, the Raven Killer. He did it last year. He did it again this year.
That's
the
true.
Raven Killer.
I forgot about that. It's a good point. But that, to me, is where it all starts and ends. It starts and ends with the head coach. You have to find a way to get your team focused on every game. And I know you can say all week we're focused on them, but nothing went right. Really? Nothing went right. They were beaten all 3 phases in this game. Actually 4 phases, because coaching, offense, defense, special teams. It was a total train wreck. You're up by 10. I think there was 10 minutes to go, and this is, unfortunately, in John Harbaugh's tenure as head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, has been his MO, that they have not been able to hold on to these 2-possession leads, especially recently, but even going back to 2009, 2010, somewhere around there when it all began. It's I can't explain it. I really don't. I really can't explain it. It's almost like the team kind of, to me, seems like to use up all their energy to get to that 10-point advantage, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, we're just gonna take it easy now, and that's when the other team takes advantage, and that's exactly what the Raiders did. They found a spark defensively. Max Crosby was absolutely shredding our offensive line. Daniel Falale, or I pronounced his name wrong, but that guy, he needs to be benched. He's terrible. I mean, how many times was Max Crosby getting around him I'm sorry. I've started going multiple directions here. But all of this to say, it falls back on the head coach because you've got to reel your guys in.
I hope you're okay, but you're the reason. From the words of the great Taylor Swift. Listen, this is what I'm seeing. It is what I have predicted is coming to pass. Like I said,
called it last week.
What happened is going to become a poison to this team, and it's what I've said. The Ravens look and feel that they're entitled to championships, that they're entitled to, success just because they have had it already. And I don't think they realize that the reason why teams like the Chiefs, the 49ers, have had all the success in the past few years is because they don't feel entitled to it. They go out and get it. Mm-hmm. And the Ravens, again, like you said, you had a 10-point lead with about 10 minutes to go. Absolutely boring game, a game that should have been something. It's the home opener. The energy's high. You guys, I understand it was an emotional loss to the Chiefs, but you guys were right there at the brink, literally an inch off of tying, possibly winning the game.
Yep.
And instead of, again, taking the positives out of that game and using that as motivation to get back to the Chiefs, instead it was, be still my heart. We were robbed, yada, yada, this. If this is the best they have, well, then we're going to, this is the worst. And then they go out and play an even worse game against the Raiders. Gardner Minshew's led Raiders. I'm sorry. It's just the mindset of this football team. And you're correct in saying that this is on Harbaugh for not getting his team refocused and getting them again to. And sometimes what does John Harbaugh do? What does he do on this team?
I don't know.
Is he calling plays? Like, what is he doing now? Why is Harbaugh still the coach?
I don't know.
I don't understand this.
I think the only way they can, it's sort of like, I hate to compare him to Mike Tomlin, but because Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season, but the Steelers aren't going to fire Mike Tomlin because he has a winning season every year. I think,
but also the Steelers have a track record of staying with coaches for years. I mean, think about it. They went from
same with the Ravens, kind of. I mean, they've only had 2 coaches in the last.
But the Ravens as a franchise, right? Because obviously we know they were originally the Browns, but then they moved over to Baltimore and became the Ravens and
since 96,
released everything. They've only been around since 96. So they only had, I don't remember who their first coach is. They had Bill Belichick and then they went to Harbaugh.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, hey, like, I understand, like, Harbaugh has brought a lot of success. He obviously brought that Super Bowl in 2012, but he's been riding that he's been riding that Super Bowl for 12 years.
Yep.
And it's been disappointing playoff performance after disappointing playoff performance. I mean, at what point do we sit here and think, okay, maybe it's kind of akin to what happened to the U.S. national team, right? But and in a shorter time period, we had Greg Berhalter as our coach for a while, for the first World Cup cycle. We get to the World Cup ends, and then we bring him back to try to make it into this cycle of the World Cup, and it goes completely south, in a tournament, in the Copa America tournament. Mm-hmm. And now we have to fire him, and now we're getting a new voice in because it's clear that the players just got complacent under this coach because they knew where they stood, and they were this coach was not making them uncomfortable. That's what needs to happen here in Baltimore. They need a possible change at the top to get these players to be uncomfortable and a different vision, a different outlook. I don't know what Harbaugh does for this team. All I know is he's not good at managing this team's emotions. And we saw it in the AFC Championship game. Their emotions got the best of them. We saw it post game here of the Chiefs game. Their emotions have gotten the best of them. And it is, like I said, it is a poison because they're using negative thoughts to try to get motivation. And that's only going to drain you instead of invigorate you. Whereas if you ever taken the positives, then it'd be like, okay, well then let's keep working on this. Let's keep going. Like we know we can get back to them. Let's get back to them. I think the Chiefs are really in their heads, and I think it has really, really hurt this team. And I hope they take a look in the mirror because they're in serious trouble because this will be my last point.
Their schedule's
because
hard. Their schedule's hard too.
They're 0-2. We've had this playoff format for about 3 seasons, I believe.
Yep.
And there have been 21 0-3, 0-2 teams in this time frame. Do you guys know how many have made it to the playoffs?
2.
3. Only 3 of the 21 teams have made it to the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah, a lot has to go right.
Them and the Bengals are looking at a lot right now and the Ravens don't have an easy stretch. They're obviously going to Dallas, and Dallas is going to be pissed off after what happened against New Orleans. And then they just have a tough stretch of games after that. I can't even remember who. I know they play the Bengals at some point during that stretch.
Yeah, they play the Bengals. Yeah.
So it's like
the last game of the 4-week stretch. Yep.
They needed to win at least one of these first 2 games.
It was a must-win game. It was a gimme type of game to get their confidence back up.
It was supposed to be a toss-up. I mean, this is the Raiders. What did the Raiders have besides Adams and Max Crosby?
Yeah, I mean, I will say I think that defense is better than people give them credit for. I will say that, but you're exactly right. And I think one thing about the Ravens that's interesting is if you remember last year, they didn't have this attitude, at least not in my vantage point. They were kind of always the underdog last year, which kind of boded well for them in most situations. They end up having a great season. Lamar wins MVP. I felt like going into that playoff game, they weren't too cocky or arrogant to me. I mean, not more than usual, but I don't know what's changed. I don't know why this season all of a sudden they feel like, they should be, like you said, Carlos, entitled to being in the same conversation with the Chiefs. Look, nobody's on the same plane level as the Chiefs. We've talked about that a million times. But again, I think that reflects on the head coach. The head coach has to say, look, we haven't proven anything yet. We haven't won anything yet. Like, we have to get through the regular season before we even start thinking about the playoffs right now. So, I think you nailed as far as what Harbaugh does for the team. I couldn't tell you because it certainly doesn't seem like they practice because they get out there and they were just bad, like bad in all areas in this game. And it looked like a preseason game where you're going to cut some of those guys who made those plays. That's what it seemed like to me. And you can't have that. The first week of the season, you accept there's going to be some screw-ups, there's going to be some rust there. But by week 2, you got to start picking it up and showing if you are a legitimate playoff contender, which they claim to be, which to me, they are far from that right now. They got a lot of work to do before they even get back in that discussion.
I think another thing is they lost a lot in this offseason that I think a lot of people aren't factoring in and kind of thought that just because they signed Derrick Henry that like everything was going to be okay.
Right.
They lost, you lose your top, pass rusher and Jadeveon Clowney. I don't know why you guys didn't bring him back. He had a career year with you guys. And then obviously losing Patrick Queen it seems like it's been a big deal. And then your secondary is just
terrible. They're terrible.
Yeah,
they were holding on by a thread last year, but I think we had a couple guys who we've since lost now that were kind of helping hold it down. Marlon Humphrey, he looks awful.
He looks washed.
He's awful. And I think prior to last year, he wasn't very good either. I think what happened last year is the Ravens had some depth for once in the secondary, so his mistakes weren't as glaring. But this year, it's just been, it was burnt toast out there on Sunday. It was really bad, really bad. So, yeah, you're right, Carlos. They lost a lot of pieces, and their offensive line, they got to stop shuffling guys in and out. You got to find something that works and stick with it. We know in the NFL, chemistry is everything with an offensive line. They don't have any of that right now, especially on the right side of the line, which is where obviously Max Crosby is coming from that side of the ball. So it's all bad. I don't have anything positive to say.
Chris Jones was attacking constantly during the Chiefs game.
Yeah, same deal. So, Tucker
and I promise you that'll be the side that Micah Parsons attacks this week.
Oh, I know. I might turn it off at halftime. But I will say,
we'll see. Wait till we still got to discuss the Cowboys. I mean, I wouldn't chalk this up like as if the Cowboys are definitely going to win. They're going to blow out. No, absolutely not.
Well, if the first 2 weeks have shown us anything, it's to expect at least 2 or 3 games to be wacky. So who knows? But I mean, that's it. I think John Harbaugh's run his course. I think I said this last year after the playoff game. I didn't see the fire that they've had in previous years, and obviously when they won this.
The fire was there in the playoffs last year, right? Like, especially like but it was too much, and Harbaugh lost control of it, and that's why. And this team started making dumb mistakes.
A lot of mental mistakes.
The pressure started getting to them,
right.
And it's just, I just don't, I mean, I don't know. It's just like his brother like left the NFL for years. After he had
comes
success
back
and comes back, it's just think about all that Jim Harbaugh has accomplished since they had their Super Bowl in 2012, and John Harbaugh's still at the Ravens. And yeah, sure, you have a lot of regular season success. That's cool.
Nobody remembers that.
Nobody
remembers that.
Again, at the end of the day, it's about winning championships. And when was the last time that the Ravens? I understand you guys were in the AFC Championship game last year, but like it was the same story. It was you guys choked it at the end.
Yep.
Because again, the year to get the Chiefs was last year.
Yep.
That team last year was awful, and they still went out and won. But that's because they know how to win. The Ravens struggle to do that in the playoffs.
Yep. And they have. And it's I think for the longest time John Harbaugh was able to get by. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, that defense. And Joe Flacco's magical playoff run. I mean, without Joe Flacco, without Jacoby Jones, Anquan Boldin, Dennis Pitta, they never win that Super Bowl. I don't think John Harbaugh really had any hand at all in that. I think in a way it was, just kind of fate that kind of got them that Super Bowl. And then they've been skating. He's been skating by on that since then. And there comes a time. Look, your overall record's fine. I mean, he's a good head coach if you look at those numbers. There's no question about it. But it's the wash, rinse, repeat cycle. It just continues over and over every season. And this is just another example of this is a very winnable game, your first home game, your first game in that stadium since the AFC title game. So you definitely want to come out and play well. And
I didn't even factor that in.
Yeah. And they totally just
they screwed the pooch.
Yep, they wet the bed. Literally, it was awful. So, I mean, that's all I have to say. I'm not going to call it any other individual players, just because I think it's a
team.
Here.
It's more of a team.
It's the whole team. The whole team's broken right now. So,
also Tucker's got to figure something out because this is starting to look bad.
It's really bad. It's really bad.
I have a stat.
Okay.
This season, NFL kickers are 35 for 37. The only 2 misses come from Justin Tucker.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Kickers are so good these days, man. You watch any game.
They got to do something about this because I feel like now it's like it's too automatic now. Like no matter how far away, like again, like you got Brendan Aubrey in Dallas making freaking tying the 66-yard record, and he could have kicked it from like 70.
Yeah, he drilled that by 3 or 4 yards at least. Yeah, it was nuts. Listen, I mean, kicking's come a long way. If you ever look at the history of kicking, it used to be really bad. Like they had position players kicking when all this stuff first started. So it's crazy how it's come along. But
I mean, I work with a kicker who was league MVP. So good friend of the show, Mark Mosley. So
I can't sit there and diss this man. He won an MVP. That's cool. That's pretty dope.
Mark Mosley's a legend, man.
Yeah, he played for the Eagles, Browns, and the then Redskins, and he has a lot of great stories to tell. And when it comes to calling high school games, when there's a field goal kicker like this year in James Wood, a kid booting from like 35, 45 yards out.
It's impressive in high school.
In high school, that's impressive. Because God, you can't find a good kicker in high school to save your life.
If you could kick an extra point in high school, you're doing well.
Honestly, like we've seen, We had a couple good kickers at
Shenandoah had some good kickers, yeah.
But there was one year we had like nobody, and I was just like, dude, these are bad.
They're
But
just lining them up.
Yeah, do you guys remember? I don't know if you guys will remember this. There was a kicker who had like half a foot.
Garo
Yes.
Yepremian.
Yeah.
Who?
Garo No,
Yeah,
Tom Dempsey.
Yeah, he wore
I can't remember his name.
That was
He,
Dempsey
wore,
for the Saints.
He wore like a square shoe type.
Yeah, it was like a club foot basically. It
Yeah.
was, but like this was back when kickers still kicked straight on.
Like
they
the
didn't
70s,
do the soccer
60s,
style.
70s.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember reading a book. I can't remember which team it was for because I don't remember who he played for. But like I just remember like he had like a whole page on it, and I just remember looking at the picture of his foot, and I was like, "That's nuts."
Yeah.
We're having kicker talk. We gotta move on.
I love it. I love kickers.
It
was bad. It was bad.
I will
everything.
say.
You got any other questions, Kirby, before we move on? Because I think we've talked about this for a long time.
I think you touched on it all, but I must say a very touching tribute to Jacoby Jones pregame.
Yes.
That was very good to see all his.
Got me a little teared
I
up.
believe Ray Lewis was there too, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
and
Ray
he's
Lewis
like
was
the
there.
only place you need to be today is Russell Street South. He tweeted that.
Well, if I can make one last comment, this is something I saw fans saying. Did the loss of the offensive line coach, has that maybe been a big reason why the line has struggled? And I can't answer that. I think emotionally it has to make a difference, right?
I mean, that would explain some things.
Correct?
That would explain some things. But at the same time,
it's everything. But it's everything else also that's the problem. So who knows? But that's something I was like, I hadn't thought about that. But a guy who was there for so long, I think he was there for 7 years. Like, okay, like maybe that's making a difference. But anyway, I will throw it back to you, Kirby. We can move on to something else.
Yeah, but I mean that tribute was amazing. All his former teammates came out. His mother and I forget who else was there, but
his son.
Yeah, mother and son, and they were just sobbing tears. So that was it was great to see them honor him the way they did for all that he did for
peace, my guy. Thanks for the memories.
Yeah, he's great.
Absolutely. With that, you're listening to the Kirby on Sports podcast, and we have so much more to come. When we come back, we need to have a conversation about the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints. We'll be right back.
Bed bugs. The only thing creepier than thinking about them is actually having them. Trust me, you don't want to have them. Locally owned and operated Barrett Pest and Termite Services can keep you from having bed bug nightmares and infestations. Call 540-340-3922 to schedule your free inspection and consultation. If bed bugs are already in your home, we'll get rid of them so you can rest easy. We also specialize in keeping homes and businesses free of other pests, including rodents and termites. That's Barrett Pest and Termite Services, 540-340-3922.
We are back in business. I am Josh Kirby. This is the Kirby on Sports podcast with the weapon Dan Dembski, the Swiss Army knife Carlos Martinez. And I will pose a question, a serious question. Are the Cowboys, did they just have a brain fart, or the Saints just this good?
I will say that it was okay, Chief. I love you. Sorry, Chief is asking for attention right now.
The
I will
official
say
dog of the Kirby on Sports podcast.
Absolutely. I will say this, that it was how best to explain this.
It's hard
because the Saints are looking pretty good, but are they?
Well, week one you can't really tell.
So week
right?
week one it was more of like, okay, like are they legit? It's the Panthers we're talking about, but they did this against the Cowboys. But in my opinion, I will say that they are close to being for real because this is week 2. What I will say is I'm more concerned for Dallas more so than anything. Obviously, I'm going to be more concerned for Dallas just because of they couldn't make adjustments. And this is the same issues that we kept seeing in the Dan Quinn era, which was they struggled to make adjustments. Zimmer looked lost out there. Like every time they kept cutting to him, like he just could not figure it out. this loss, and it seems like the consensus in Cowboy Nation is this loss was not on, surprisingly for once, or is not being put on Dak Prescott, because Dak was trying everything. He was trying to keep up with the Saints. It's just our defense was not.
They weren't helping out.
They weren't.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they were on the field. Honestly, they looked so undermanned. It was crazy. Like it was just like, dude, like everything the Saints are doing is working. They couldn't stop them on third downs. It was a pathetic performance. Yeah, I mean, obviously we knew there was going to be growing pains. I knew a lot of people were definitely overreacting from the Browns game. And I think that this was definitely a reality check, a nice gut check that the Cowboys need. Zimmer needs to learn how to evolve with the game because it's not going to stay the same way all the time. He needs to learn. He needs to have a plan B in his pocket. You know, it's the same thing we kept asking about Dan Quinn. Same thing we kept asking about Mike McCarthy is, hey, when plan A doesn't work, what's plan B and what's plan C? We can't keep with plan A because plan A is not working.
Yep.
And a lot of people were saying, well, why didn't we have, Overshawn more out there? Like he only played like something like 18 snaps. He's our fastest linebacker. Like, why don't we have this guy out there? It's a good, valid question. Why don't we have more speed out there and against this team that is built on speed? I understand that Zimmer's big thing is he likes the big boys. He likes power over speed, but like you got to be able to adapt to this because, this is basically a Shanahan offense, because Kubiak falls under the Shanahan tree. And we struggle with this offense. This type of offense is the offense that always gives us issues. This is the offense that the Cowboys are going to have to face if they ever want to get to the promised land, which for all intents and purposes will not be this year. I promise you, boys, it's not going to be this year. Okay. This is not the Cowboys' year. It's the year of the Chiefs, baby. It's the year of the three-peat. Let's go.
Yeah, we know.
It's also the year of the Swiss Army knife three-peat. Let's go.
Might be.
Anyways,
you might be stopped this year. We'll see.
I don't know, bro. Will I?
Oh, the amount of wrestling belts on this show, if he three-peats, it's gonna be insane.
I have 3 belts for that reason. I always buy ahead of time.
Oh, you'll probably get a 4th one just because.
Oh, I'm getting a 4th one. The 4th one will be coming. Okay.
They'll be glad to get your money again, I'm sure.
It's going to be the undisputed title because I will be the undisputed champion at that point. There will be no
Kirby, we got to step it up. Like, come on.
Let's step it up.
You guys do. You guys do. Okay, because the only one that stepped it up and has given me a challenge the last 2 years, we're going on a total side rant, is this guy. Okay, this guy's taking me to the end every time. You're not even in the picture, bro. So
hey,
step up.
Hey, at least I picked a good game in the Bucks Lions.
And he picked the Bills.
Yeah, that is true.
Good
I didn't expect him to win like that either. Golly.
Anyways, back to the Cowboys.
Digress.
Yes, I do think that the Cowboys I think they had a brain fart. I hope that they rebound well because again, we have the Baltimore Ravens coming into town, so we can't take them lightly. And I do think the Saints are almost for real.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So
it's hard for me because like I agree with Carlos. I don't think they've proven enough that they're for real yet. It's only been 2 weeks. We've seen a lot of teams throughout the years start hot and just completely collapse. It happens. I would
That's
say
the thing. Do you want to
not.
actually be playing well right now? Like this is like even.
Do you want to target on your back in a week?
The Chiefs are like, look, this is not when we want to be playing our best ball. We want to be playing our best football. At the end of the season, making the push to the playoffs. That's when you want to be peaking.
Well, Carlos, did you like Tom Brady out there week 2?
Oh, here we go. He's asking about Brady again.
I
he's
don't
obsessed.
care. He's not. He does nothing Like he's okay. Like he's getting his sea legs. Like God, what are we doing
I was
here?
just checking to see how you liked it. That's all.
I don't care. I honestly turned the game off at like the third quarter because I was like, you know what, this isn't even worth watching anymore.
That's good. That's good. Don't tear your hair out watching your football team.
I don't have hair.
I'm starting to lose mine as well. So
it's okay. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I think the Saints can have a great season. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't. I don't know if they're,
I mean, it's clear the South is a little more competitive than it's been in the past. I mean, you got the Falcons with their miracle win last night.
Yeah, that was wild.
I mean, I don't even know if it was a miracle win. I think that was just more the Eagles just completely
the Eagles just collapsed. Yeah, and then of course Kirby with the cry. Eagles cry. Good job, Kirby.
I loved it. Loved it.
Now Nick Sirianni deserves all the hate. I agree with that. 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Eagles 100%. It was just classic. Seeing Jalen Hurts through.
All right, that's enough out of you. Golly, this is Eagles talk. Jesus Christ. Make one mention of the Eagles and he starts going crazy, acting like his team has done something in the past 30 years. Anyways, you guys didn't even score a touchdown this week. Like you guys won on field
goals.
Hey, we'll get to that in a moment.
We'll get to that in a minute. We will get to that in a minute, won't we?
Yeah, we will.
Impressive kicker.
We will.
Impressive kicker now.
And then yeah, so the NFC South definitely more competitive. You got the Bucks, obviously Baker Mayfield playing the best ball of his life.
The Bucks are the real deal.
You got the Falcons pulling off the miracle win, and then you got the Saints here looking hot. I mean, the only team that sucks in that division is the freaking Panthers.
Yeah, they're really bad.
I'm happy.
Bring in the red rifles. Send out the freaking bat signal, baby.
I'm happy for Derek Carr. I think he got mistreated a little bit, and for him to be playing so well in New Orleans,
mistreated. The man's made millions of dollars. Where did he get mistreated?
He has fleeced.
Where did he get mistreated? He had all the weapons in the Raiders. He had everything handed to him. He was in the playoffs, and he failed to beat the Bengals. Okay. Yeah. Do not sit there.
Do not forget.
And tell me this man has been mistreated.
No, I think that's the wrong word. I think that's the wrong word.
You set Carlos off. Good job. Good job.
No, that's the wrong word because I remember that press conference where you got visibly upset because they kept losing, and I think he was about to cry or something. And I'm like, man,
I'd cry all the way to the bank if I was making that kind of money. Let's go.
No, but but getting another start in New Orleans for the most part, I think he's doing pretty good. So
it's only been 2 weeks. Like let's
pump
to
conclusions. I'm sorry.
I could understand if we were like in week 10 and he's still
tearing up. All right,
then I can understand you being like, I'm glad he's playing well. But this is Derek Carr we're talking about. Like, let's not goes immediately crown him. Yes, once again, he is playing phenomenal right now. But let's talk to me in a few more weeks.
Yep.
When we get a little bit more of a sample size to see what it's like under the Kubiak offense.
Yep.
And then we'll see.
He's always been that quarterback. He's had 2 good games and then 2 bad games and 2. Yep, he's a streaky quarterback. Exactly. So, anyway.
With that is talk on the Saints defeating the Cowboys 44-19. We'll take another break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Washington Commanders and New York Giants. This is going to be a really fun segment. So
time to hit the snooze fest button.
Yep. So stick right here with us. We'll
leave a timestamp on.
Hi, this is Mark Peter Lynch with Guild Mortgage. One of the greatest joys in doing business over the last 30 years in the Shenandoah Valley is helping people buy their first home. Buying their first home and putting the keys in their hand at the closing table has brought me so much joy. If you want to buy your first home, a second home, or an investment property, or build wealth through investment in real estate, give me a call. My phone number is 540-664-4700, or you can find me on the World Wide Web at www.marksmortgage.com.
We are back, the Kirby on Sports podcast. So glad you're with us, running through week 2 action across the National Football League in our teams. I'm with the weapon Dan Dembski and the Swiss Army knife Carlos Martinez.
Hey, pasa.
Now let's talk about a matchup between the
That was
a
Washington
matchup,
so
all right.
boring that Carlos literally refused to watch it because why?
Paint could dry faster.
the
these two teams
Commanders
played
and the Giants. And the Commanders got the win, but I will be saying some stuff here.
I will say one thing before you say anything. How many touchdowns did the Giants score?
A lot.
How many?
3.
3? They scored 3 touchdowns
Yeah.
and they still lost.
Commanders had
Brian Dable threw down the headset, and I was like,
How do you score 3 touchdowns and still lose to a team that scored
7 field goals,
7 field goals?
a team record. Welcome to Washington, Austin.
Isn't that like
Siebert.
one short of the NFL record? Most field goals in a game?
I'll look that up. Let me
I'm
check.
pretty sure it was
that sounds
8,
right.
if I remember correctly.
But with this one, okay. So it seems like it's consistent. Last year, the Commanders made the
You are
Giants
correct.
look like superstars. This year, the
Was that right?
Commanders making
Yep. It was
Nice.
It was Rob Baranis, the old Titans kicker back in the day.
No, there you go. Well, the one thing for sure, the Commanders have a kicker. So that's one thing they can cross off their plate for right now.
Okay.
It was unfortunate that Graham Gano got injured the first play of the game on the kickoff. in-
That the what is it? Northwest Stadium Field now, whatever.
Yeah,
some-
Northwest.
Still the same old field.
Yeah,
Still-
Northwest Stadium Field curse.
claims
The
another victim.
FedEx Field strikes again. It'll always be the FedEx Field curse. It strikes again.
Well, apparently Gano just pulled his hamstring or something. Punter came on.
The field strikes again. I mean, you guys were having some irrigation issues. The sprinklers were broken. Yeah.
Yep,
Piece
that
of
is true.
crap.
That is
Yeah.
Tear
true.
it down. Tear it down. Start over.
You can't tear it down fast enough.
I know.
Honestly, like it's gonna be a celebration when they tear that stadium down.
A lot of people are going to come out for that one.
Honestly, I might go to the party.
Oh my gosh.
Nice
I'm gonna wear a
implosion
death
party. We
to the-
love it.
Commander Stadium shirt.
Northwest Credit Union, whatever.
I must say the kicking situation was really good. He looked really good, Austin Siebert. It's crazy how the Commanders won off 7 field goals to the Giants.
Is
3
it? It's the
touchdowns.
freaking New York Giants, bro. They stink. Daniel Jones throws 3 touchdowns and still loses.
No, it's just crazy in my mind just to think that the Commanders actually did that, because they're always
Fair
on the
enough.
losing end of stuff like that. You see,
Again, you're playing the Giants, man. Like they're
in
one
the
more cursed
Commanders
franchise.
last year. Look at last year.
That
They
was last year. That was not this year. Oh my God. It's a new season, bro.
yeah, that's true. We're looking back, but I had memories from last year that I didn't like. Let's just say so. We did make Daniel Jones look like a superstar. We made Malik Neighbors look like a superstar because the Commanders on defense, I'm not really sure what they're doing at all. I mean, defensive line, they're pressuring a little bit. I think they sacked Daniel Jones, 2 times? No, 1 time. 1 time. In the secondary, I mean, way to guard a receiver. Neighbors had 127 yards.
He's not bad. I don't understand why you're crapping.
Yeah,
I mean,
like Malik
he
Neighbors
has
was a
Daniel
first-round
Jones as his
pick.
quarterback, so I mean,
Yeah. No, I'm
You
not.
can't
I'm
help
not
it.
discrediting what Neighbors did, but
Their
it's
first
the
round
fact-
pick hasn't even like scored a touchdown yet. I mean, he
does he
ran
even
one
know?
in.
Does he even know what the end zone looks like? I mean, that's.
Does he
what
know how
I'm
to throw
wondering.
into the end zone? It's that big.
He
like,
might not
square at the
yet.
back.
He's learning
I-
slowly.
I'll get to that, but again, Neighbors, he looked very good, but the Commanders
Great
couldn't
player.
tackle him, could not wrap him down, could not tackle.
We've talked
At all.
about the secondary over and over. They're not good. I mean,
Yeah.
their
This is year after
secondary is
year.
not good.
Give Dan Quinn a few years to get his guys in. You're still dealing with Ron Rivera's guys. Like Jesus
And-
The
Christ.
ghost of Ron Rivera. Yes, that is true. But I mean, some of them are, but there are some new faces on that defense. So again, I just think it's a matter of time before they gel together. But again, the
Better
defense
hope so.
concerning a lot of work. A lot
Mhm.
of work. Offensive line. Jeez, man. Hey, how
Bad.
many Jaden Daniels got sacked, what, 5 times? 5 for 16 yards. Thank goodness he's a mobile quarterback. He was running. He was looking good. He took that rib shot, and I'm like, oh, goodness, not again. Not
He
again.
cut back on his carries, too, from week 1. Which
Listen, after that rib shot, he came back in, and he looked a lot better in the pocket, making progression, stepping up in the pocket. I'll tell you, one receiver who stepped up big, I really liked for Washington, Mr. Noah Brown. Took that last drive where Siebert
Oh my God, he's going to be good for 3 games, and then you're never going to see him again. This is what Noah Brown does. He always starts the season off hot, and then he disappears. He did it in Dallas. He did it in Houston, and he's going to do it here. This is what he does. I'm not impressed by Noah Brown.
Well, hey, I'm just saying he had a good game this game, and that game-winning drive where they kicked the game-winning field goal, that was very good to see him make a long grab, long catch and run. Daniels, he looked good. He was reading the field, making the right
so
run.
He couldn't throw a freaking touchdown pass, huh?
Okay, yeah, I'm getting to that.
Defense.
I'm getting to that.
Sorry.
So
Continue.
the Giants,
Darnold is throwing freaking bombs down the field against this defense. Daniels can't complete a pass in the end zone. What are we doing here?
It's undisciplined. In the red zone scheme, I think is terrible. It's undisciplined that every time the Commanders were in the red zone, a false start penalty. False start. And they tried doing something. The red zone scheme sucks. They got to figure it out. I'm not sure if Cliff Kingsbury's right as the offensive coordinator, but again, we're 2 games in.
I don't think it was a good move, but I'm not a big fan of his, so.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Okay, but going back to my point, I'm not sure. I think we're still in a figure it out what is going on situation.
It's almost like you're in a rebuild.
In a rebuild.
Yeah,
it's almost like you're in a rebuild. Like it's almost like that has not ended yet.
Yeah, this rebuild's probably going on for quite some time. But again,
it has been going on. There
is some promise. Jaden Daniels can develop to be a very good quarterback. It is still week 2 of his rookie season.
That dude is too skinny. He's going to get killed out there.
He needs an offensive line, too.
Yes, he does need an offensive line.
Terrible.
So
they're going to have another RG3 situation on their hands, which is what no one wants to see. So,
but you know, it was good to see a Commanders win. It was electrifying. It was crazy to see it, but the way they got it done,
the way they do it is just
man,
Commanders.
It was so crazy, man. I was losing my mind at that last field goal. I was just losing my mind.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
It was shouting.
Won freaking 7 field goals. What the hell is that?
I know.
Play like a 1940s type style of game right there. All kicks. Love it.
Man. I tell you, it was an interesting game, but going into next week,
you didn't even talk about Brian Robinson, who had a hell of a game. You didn't even talk about Brian Robinson. Yes, thank you.
I'm sorry, Brian Robinson. The run game was effective. If it wasn't Jaden Daniels, it was Brian Robinson, and that one. What was it? 3rd down play. He just shed off.
He had a long run.
Oh my! I'm like, what the heck happened? I'm like, there we go.
Ripped
but
off
every
like a
time
40-yarder.
they got in the red zone, what happened? A false start, and nothing comes of it but a field goal. But again, field goals won us the game.
Well, and that's that's just a sign of the.
I wonder how long Brian Dable has before he's canned out of New York.
I don't understand why they haven't canned him yet, to be honest.
Somebody asked him, and he took offense to that.
Of course he's going to take it. What is?
Well, you got to think he was coach of the year 2 years ago. Then last year they had the year from hell, a lot of injuries and stuff. They lose Saquon. Daniel Jones is still your quarterback. It's clear Daniel Jones has made no progression as a quarterback. What he wants is a freaking quarterback, and I don't know if they're going to let him go because at the end of the day, this was the guy who did usher in one of the most successful eras in Buffalo history.
True.
Even though they have nothing to show for it, the regular season champs over there, no, or whatever the hell we
The
used to call
September
them.
champs.
The September champs. That's what it was. The September champions.
Always 4-0 in September. Yeah.
Look, hey, they're on their way. The September champs are coming back. I couldn't remember what we used to call them.
Yeah, every year.
Yeah, so I don't know how long Brian Daboll's got. I don't think they fire him, honestly, but I could be wrong.
But I mean, other
It's a
than that,
mess.
the Commanders in a rebuilding situation, they have pieces.
An absolute thriller, man. This was an absolute
Oh,
thriller,
yeah.
man.
Absolutely.
My heart
sweating
was
it out.
racing at all 7 of those field goals. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if he's going to make it. Oh my God.
He made it. I'm going to cry.
I know. It was a heartwarming thing to see. But now, in all seriousness, there are a lot of good pieces that the Commanders have, but
This is what I'm going to say every week. Just so you know, this is you as the listening audience. I have to be completely honest with you. He's going to say this every week. Every week. Win, lose, whatever, he's going to be like, there's some exciting pieces on this team. I'm so excited. Yada, yada, yada. It's just going to be like, bro, we've heard this all before. Like, at some point, we're going to have to cut the Commander segment because they're going to be out of playoff contention.
I also want to thank Kirby for apologizing at the start of the podcast, because why are you smack talking other NFC East teams? What is your team done?
Listen,
You-
listen,
again,
listen.
Yeah, well,
Listen,
no.
We're not going to let you get away
No.
with that easily.
No.
No,
I shall speak. I shall speak.
You
I
shall
shall
not speak.
speak. I
Okay,
shall
go ahead.
speak. Okay, listen. I do that for the fun and enjoyment of other people I know who like to talk some smack. So I like to have some
We
fun.
made
you
an
do?
agreement that you were going to stop doing that
That
I
part.
don't remember. When was that? I don't remember that.
last year.
Yeah, that's
We
probably why.
gotta find the podcast. It's somewhere out
I don't know
there.
if we did it on the pod. I'm pretty sure we have text messages.
Oh,
proving
Well,
it.
listen.
So even better.
Listen. The way this week went, it was perfect. I'm like, I just have to do it at least once.
Yeah, because for once your
You
team
did
won
it
and
the
everyone
week
else lost.
before.
Yeah, that is true. You did do it week 1 as well.
Week 1.
Yeah,
No, I
You were
didn't.
talking some shit. Smack.
yeah, you were trolling last week as well. Not as
Yeah,
bad as this week, but
Yeah, listen.
here's what you do. Do better. Okay, be a better fan. Don't be that guy. All right.
You don't see me and Dan talk. We have all the reasons to talk crap.
Especially
okay?
last
At least
year.
our
Both of
teams
our
have been
teams were
successful.
good last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
no.
listen. I did it because the Commanders are in first place by way of an NFC East
Oh my
win.
God,
And
no.
listen.
My God.
Listen.
Nobody cares,
Can't be
bro.
Listen.
Nobody cares.
You gotta
It's
listen.
week 2. You're not in first place.
You're
in
not
a
letting me
three-way
finish,
tie.
Brian.
No, you're in a 3-way
No,
tie.
you're
Do
not
not
letting
sit
me
here.
finish.
No, I don't care. You don't have anything more to say.
Yeah.
Right there, you lost all credibility by going, we're in first place. You're 1-1. And you won this last game by 7 field goals. Shut up and let's move on.
But what I'm trying to say is by way of the division.
Have mercy. And after that, ladies and gentlemen, we will move on to our next segment.
Let's do
Coming up next, I'm not entirely sure what the heck the next ad is supposed to be. I guess it's this one. We'll be back.
It's Jason, General Manager at Shenandoah Music, here to tell you all about... Jay, what are you doing here? Well, Matt, I'm trying to tell the people about our selection of guitars, basses, keyboards, drum sets.
I know that, but I always do the radio spots.
You get to have all the fun. I want to tell everyone about our huge selection, unbeatable prices, unmatched service, and in-depth knowledge.
Jay, I really don't think now is the time to discuss.
So remember, folks, when you think music, think Shenandoah Music in Winchester.
That's my line.
Oh,
That's-
well, we are all over the place. Hold on, I got it.
Yeah, I wonder whose fault that was.
Oh, well, you didn't want to get off the point, so we moved on.
Well, I was trying to finish my point, but it
You know what?
didn't
I'm
go
doing
over
this show
so
with you
well.
boys. I just-
Congrats
I
to
just
your
want you to know
kicker.
that.
No,
At least you have
that
it.
wasn't my point, but you didn't let me finish. So,
Well, we moved on. We're in the next segment. We went on the ad break.
I was going to tell you what my point was, but you didn't want to.
You can tell me off there.
Well, it doesn't make sense. It was a good grab for the listeners.
All right.
that-
If you can do it briefly, Do it now, quickly.
Listen. By way of the division, the Commanders are technically in first place. But
Stop!
You lost credibility,
No.
bro. You lost credibility.
by way of the division, the Commanders are in first place.
You lost credibility. You cannot continue to speak that way. Absolutely not.
Well,
This is like the Brady Bunch. There we go.
the Three Stooges on the
Yeah.
Korean Sports
No,
Podcast.
the one stooge.
Hey, Carlos, let's move on. Okay. Point taken. Let's move on. Are we ready?
We're not
Oh,
doing
yes,
that this
we've been-
season.
No.
We're not doing that this season.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. My
Joe
fault.
Burrow
not-
should
we're
have
not
dyed
doing
his
that this
hair. That's all I
season.
have to say.
The Kansas City Chiefs. It was ugly. Is that the right word? I'd say ugly.
No.
I mean,
ugly.
It was an ugly game. No, it was an ugly game.
yeah, I
It was
mean,
low scoring, I would say, compared to
26-25. I don't think that's low scoring, but it wasn't.
there was a lot
was
of
sloppy.
questionable
It was very
stuff out of this
sloppy.
game.
Sloppy's the word. Yeah.
There was a lot of questionable stuff in this game.
You know what's not questionable?
The win.
The win. You know what's not questionable?
The pass.
Arrowhead not being Burrowhead. May
That's
it
right.
rest in peace. It lasted for 2 years. Ever since they made that comment, they've never won there.
It's
you
true.
know,
It's a good point.
You know what's not questionable? That that it is rightfully Arrowhead, the land of the free, home of the Chiefs, baby.
It's true. Truer things have never been said.
Yeah, Mahomes, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. How do you think he looked? Because
No, this was by far the worst performance he's had in a while. Patrick Mahomes was pressing too much, and he was trying to make things happen. That incredible interception from
that was insane.
What's the guy's name again? Britt something.
Britt something. Yeah, hold on.
I can't remember his name. Britt.
Cam Taylor Britt.
Cam Taylor Britt. Yeah, Cam Taylor Britt. That incredible, absolutely incredible
nuts.
interception. That was one that I was like, what are you doing, Patrick? Like, why are you even throwing that? Like, Xavier Worthy was not open at all. And then the Travis Kelce interception, like that one, he was just trying to force the ball to Travis for some reason. And I'm just like, dude, like this isn't a crazy scheme that, the Bengals are running here. Like that guy was going to be there. Like there was nobody there for him to try to trail. So he was just going to sit on that. Look, it wasn't a beautiful performance, but at the end of the day, the Chiefs got the job done. And what was honestly, the game-changing factor was the fumble recovery from the Joe Burrow strip sack, basically. Because ultimately that's what changed the game. I mean, think about it. While the Bengals did win the turnover battle, the Chiefs were the only ones to really capitalize on their turnover and get a score that actually mattered in the form of a touchdown. Excuse me. So, yeah, it was a very sloppy performance by Patrick Mahomes. Hopefully he cleans that up. Obviously, we now know that this is pretty much what the offense is going to be, and we've lost another weapon. Obviously, we lost Isaiah Pacheco. We signed Kareem Hunt, which is kind of crazy. Never thought he'd ever be back on the Chiefs, considering why he left the Chiefs in the first place. He's signed to the practice squad, and he'll probably be elevated just because. I mean, it might take him a couple weeks, but he will be elevated at some point. We do have Clyde Edwards-Helaire eventually coming back. He's obviously on IR for, some mental health stuff. So hopefully he gets, all that figured out and comes back soon, because we really could use him right now, especially again with the loss of Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, sloppy performance, but again, at the end of the day, the Chiefs were able to pull out the win. And I don't know what Jamar Chase was thinking, losing his mind like that. That also was like a very pivotal moment in the game that really swung it to the Chiefs, because the Bengals were driving at that point and they were looking like they were going to get a touchdown, and
he hurt him.
This is his mind for no reason. I mean, I understand that like he thought it was a hip drop tackle, but when you really watch the play, like it wasn't a hip drop tackle.
No.
but like there was no reason to lose your mind like that. And like I understand that he's under a lot of pressure because obviously he wants that new contract. Last thing he wants to happen to himself is get injured. He obviously has the $50 million insurance policy just in case, but still, you got to keep your cool. And when Joe Burrow is literally holding you back and being like, dude, like, like you can't do that. You can't. Yep. That was selfish of him to do.
It was really bad.
And honestly, I think that's what honestly costed them the game right there.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. The Chiefs were just stronger, I think, mentally, I think, in that circumstance. And then I think the Chiefs, like Carlos said before, like they just know how to win in these types of situations and these types of games, even if it's sloppy by their standards. But I think both teams are pretty sloppy, to be honest with you, too. I think the Bengals had some sloppy moments as well. But this is what the Chiefs do. You know, they I think a lot of people thought they were going to lose that game. I know Carlos probably didn't think so because we've seen this.
I will say this. I don't think the Chiefs deserve to win this one. I mean, I think the Bengals outplayed the Chiefs. I really do. Yeah. Now Jamar got completely shut down. Shout out Trent McDuffie, my favorite defensive back in the league. He's just, and granted, it wasn't just him. They did a lot of double coverage on Jamar Chase.
But when it was
because we know, we know what Jamar can do. We've seen it. He's torched the Chiefs time and time again. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to see if the other guys can do it. And obviously with them not having T. Higgins, playing, I mean, that helps significantly.
Yep.
Because now you don't have to focus on. Now T. Higgins was playing, this game would have been a lot tougher. And if we have to face the Bengals again, this game is going to be a lot tougher because T. Higgins will be back. But yeah, I'm glad the Chiefs won, but I don't think they deserved it per se.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I think the Chiefs just find a way. That's what they've always done. Even when it's not always pretty, not always perfect, they know how to win. And especially in that stadium, it's definitely not Burrowhead anymore.
Never was. It never was. He won there once. Okay, and it took him overtime to win that game. He won like he hasn't won there since.
Should have never dyed the hair. It looks really weird anyway, but that's neither here nor there.
Some people like it. I don't think it looks that weird. It's just a little like, okay.
It's just different. I don't know. It just doesn't look like him. But anyway, it's his alter ego. Yeah, this was a really fun game. I thought back and forth, and there were, like Carlos alluded to, it was definitely sloppy. A decent amount of turnovers. Credit to both defenses. I thought both defenses played well for the most part. But this was a fun game. This really has become the rivalry of the last 3-4 years in the NFL. Maybe it continues. I don't know. I think the Chiefs are so dominant. It's just hard to see because usually a rivalry, it swings back and forth, right? One team wins. They kind of go back and forth, and Kansas City might dominate this matchup to come. I don't know.
I think it just depends where the game is, right? I think if it's an Arrowhead, you give the Chiefs the advantage because that stadium,
it's number one hardest place to play in the NFL.
It just gives them a boost. I think where the Chiefs have really struggled against them is when they have to go to Cincinnati.
Tough place to play too. Yep.
It is because, and again, I will say, I think the Bengals are built to really compete with the Chiefs. And I don't know what it is about the Chiefs, but it really gets the Bengals up in the morning. And the Chiefs really struggle against Lou Anarumo. Is that how you say his last name?
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah. Big Lou. That's what I call him. Big Lou. It's Big Lou's defense. Like he just knows how to scheme this, against this defense. I mean, Trey Hendrickson was freaking dominating. He was dominating in this game, and it was crazy.
Is it?
Yeah, they could not block him. They had to hold him at least 3 times. They could not block him.
I mean, we had to switch our left tackle because the rookie just couldn't do it. He had a good first half, but that second half he was just getting blown up, and it was just like, dude, you gotta come out, man.
Yep.
Is it concerning seeing the Bengals at 0-2, or do we think Just
They've been 0-2 so many times. I mean, my thing is that they have a much easier schedule than, say, the Ravens do.
Yep.
So for me, they are the more likely out of the two teams to make it back to the playoffs after this 0-2 start.
I would agree with that 100%. Especially the next 4 or 5 games, the Ravens have a very tough stretch coming up, which is why it's like it's.
I mean, think about the schedule that the Bengals are. They're playing a third place schedule, I believe, this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they're not really playing anybody super tough aside from they played the Chiefs here. I mean, they're not. Again, they didn't go to the playoffs. So
True.
That's why they're not playing a lot. They're not playing a first place or second place schedule. That's why the Browns are playing that. That's why the Ravens are playing a first place schedule. Yep, that's why their schedules are a lot tougher than, say, the Steelers and the Bengals, because the Bengals didn't play well at the second half of the season.
They did not. They faltered big time.
Even in the first half, they didn't play that great. And then there was a period of time where Joe Burrow was on fire, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, I forget what the original question was, but
if it was concerning, yeah.
No, just like Carlos said, they've been in the situation a ton.
They always start the season out.
Is this the second or third year in a row? Maybe
I think
the
this
third
is
year in a row.
Third year.
They've been 0-2
because they were 0-2 post Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they were 0-2 last year, and they're 0-2. Yep. This is 3 years in a row. They're 0-2.
So we all know what happened 2 years ago. They went back to the playoffs. So I could see it. I mean, if any team knows how to rise above that, and you're talking about the Ravens or the Bengals, who's 0-2 right now, then it's going to be Cincinnati, in my opinion.
Cincinnati could easily get their first win come Monday night against a Washington Commanders team.
I'll be pulling for you all. We'll see what happens.
We will have to see what happens.
It's in Cincinnati, so like you got to think
it's gonna be a hard.
It's gonna be.
Man.
They're gonna. Yeah, it's gonna be. But yeah, I don't know. I think my main thing is Patrick Mahomes needs to stop pressing when he plays his team.
He does.
I think he was trying too hard. And great, because that should have been 3 interceptions, honestly. He got 1 called back.
That's a good point.
Thankfully. And we know this team isn't going to have Hollywood Brown until the playoffs. So it's like, this is the team. So we got to, you got to make this work. And I think it's Patrick Mahomes. He's going to figure it out. He's going to correct his mistakes here. But those were some really dumb mistakes that we haven't seen from Pat. Like, some of those throws were like Patrick, 2018 Patrick Mahomes, when he was just slinging that ball, and he was able to get it to Tyreek because Tyreek is Tyreek, but like Xavier Worthy's not Tyreek Hill. Like, he's fast, yes, but like he's not Tyreek. So, and I guess we got to touch on it. Travis Kelce. I mean, I don't know what he's doing. I mean, granted, he did have that big play that got called back on a hold, I believe it was.
He's just not the same.
It's almost as if also like we're just not using him. Like, Andy Reid's not scheming him to be the guy anymore. It seems like the offense is going to be run through Rashee Rice, not through Travis Kelce anymore.
Younger guys involved,
yeah. So I wonder if that's going to change, because you got to think Travis is probably like itching, like, dude, like, come on, I got to do something here.
Definitely.
But also, you got another thing is, teams. This might be a thing of like, okay, like, we're going to target Rashee Rice. We're going to make him the focal point of this offense. Soon, defenses are going to be focusing more on him, because defenses are still focusing on Travis. So maybe they're going to soon start focusing more on Rashid, and that's going to open Travis back up.
Yeah, I think that'll happen. If Travis Kelce's going to get his touches, I just think it's going to take time. But maybe he's dealing with something lingering that they're not talking about. I don't know. I mean,
as far as I know, he's
pretty healthy.
There's nothing wrong. I think it's just he's just not getting any touches.
Yeah.
And it could be a case of Patrick's not trying to feed him right now. Maybe, again, this offense is like, okay, let's go through Rice. Let's go through all these other guys. But, I mean, honestly, like, the tight ends, like, and as a whole on the Chiefs, this game didn't do anything.
Well, I think a lot of it is a strategy too, right? Like, Andy Reid wants to get the younger guys involved. And then, like you said, Carlos, then all of a sudden you forget about Kelce, and then boom, he has a huge play. At least one or two a game. So he'll get his share, I think, coming up. But pretty good move by Andy Reid to I think do it this way, because we're not talking about Kelce right now in this receiving core, which I think is a smart thing, right? Like, he's not the only go-to guy. As last year, it was literally, well, there was Rashee Rice.
Well, Rashee, but like he was like, you could see the progression of
progression
Rashee Rice.
of Rashee Rice has been incredible for sure.
Yeah, like you can definitely see that he put in the work this offseason, and he's really grown
good
as a player. You know, obviously we all know the legal issues and stuff, but that's going to be for a different day. We're not going to deal with that until the end of the year.
Right.
In terms of his, in terms of on the field stuff, you can see he has definitely grown and progressed to be that guy. And it sucks that we don't have Hollywood Brown on this team, because obviously we were all pretty excited to see, like, hey, what is that going to be like? You know, like, that's another weapon. You know, another guy that I would really like to see involved, a guy that should have never left Kansas City, is Juju Smith-Schuster, because when he was here in his first run, he was the number one wide receiver, and like he was actually pretty good. Like, he was great at taking pressure off of Kelce because he was more of a possession guy. He hasn't really been involved that much, you know, in this so far. You know, obviously he had that drop pass in the end zone on week 1. But like here against the Bengals, he didn't do anything. So it'll be interesting to see what the Chiefs do with these weapons right now, because they have plenty still. They have a lot of talent, but the loss of Isaiah Pacheco is going to be huge. We'll see what Kareem Hunt has. I mean, he's much older. From everything that I've seen, you know, from his final years in Cleveland and stuff, he didn't really have it the same way that he used to. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe he's just coming in just to kind of help when, you know,
he's sort of a morale booster type guy.
Well, it might be to help, you know, until Clyde comes back and gets back in shape.
Yep.
You know, Isaiah's only going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, so it's not that long that we have to wait.
Temporary fix,
yeah.
With that, the Chiefs with a 1-point victory over the Bengals, and we're going to hop straight in to the Kirby on Sports Pick'em. We do have a surprise guest picker tonight. This is going to be really funny to have a surprise guest picker on and get another insight from a guest not regularly on the show. We welcome him now. It's my father.
Ron
hello, Ron.
The matriarch. Is that the word? Not the matriarch. The patriarch. The patriarch of this.
You got it.
Of this podcast. The Godfather. We praise Ron Kirby. Yes. Yes.
Actually, I'm here to represent and hopefully start a new trend that you guys allow the winners of your weekly pick'em to join your next podcast.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I forgot that was a thing.
And since I won last week, I'm happy to be here.
I mean, that's up to Kerr. That's up to Josh.
Actually a good idea. That's actually a good idea.
Might not be able to get everybody to join, but it's worth a shot.
That's actually.
I mean,
really
it's not a bad idea. I don't hate the idea.
I like that.
Well, let's get into it. So follow along with us, Dad, as Carlos takes it away for the Kirby on Sports Pick'em.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, after 2 glorious weeks of football, thank you for coming back. We appreciate you. We are in a 3-way tie. We had a horrible week. I had the worst week. Dan and Kirby had about the same week.
We got the same pick, same record. Yep.
Indeed. So with that, the standings are, we are all tied at 8-4. You know, Kirby went 3-3. Dan went 3-3, and I went 2-4. It's not great. So with that, we go into our week 3 pick'ems, obviously brought to you by Anthony's Pizza, home of the Warrior. And the games we will be picking this week will be the Dallas Cowboys against the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, we have to do it. It's another battle between me and Dan. Yeah. Surprise, surprise. We will be picking, once again, the Kansas City Chiefs against the Atlanta Falcons. For the 3rd week in a row, we got a Chiefs game. We have the Philadelphia Eagles against the New Orleans Saints. We have the Detroit Lions against the Arizona Cardinals. The the San Francisco 49ers against the Rams. That was a game I was debating about changing just because of all the injuries that happened to the Rams. But I looked at the schedule and I was like, I don't really see anything else that's.
It's still a good matchup.
I was like, I don't really know. We're just gonna go with it. And then the Houston Texans against the Minnesota Vikings. I will go first as your reigning, defending, two-time Pick'em's champion. So I will, of course, be taking the Dallas Cowboys over the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, I'm contractually obligated to take them. I mean, I don't have the biggest high hopes of this game. I do think the Ravens scare me, especially with the run game. It's in Dallas. Lamar likes the bright lights, and that's anytime that anybody plays the Cowboys, they always bring their A game because it's just that's what they do.
What do you know? Tom Brady's calling this game again,
bro. 3 weeks in a row. No, I'm with Kirby on this one. Why is this game on Fox again? Why isn't this game on CBS? Like, can we get somebody else in? Like, why does it have to be Fox?
It's
going to be 5 weeks of Tom Brady calling Cowboys games.
It's like a Dallas exclusive.
That's how it goes.
Well, it's like,
I thought it was like
I thought if it's an
NFC AFC matchup, if it's those two teams, right? I thought because if it's who the away team is, right? Because like CBS primarily does AFC, Fox does NFC.
Always. Yep.
And I thought really much.
No, that's still how it is.
They've shifted away from that a little bit.
Thing is, I thought the rule was that if an AFC away team, then CBS has it. If it's an NFC away team, then it's Fox. But I guess I'm wrong here. Maybe they.
Dad, you know the answer to this, don't you?
It's kind of random now. I thought.
I wasn't listening.
Oh wow, very, very, very engaged.
I was thinking about my picks.
Yeah, don't forget he hasn't made his official picks yet.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, can we get off Tom Brady now and just let him?
Yeah.
do his picks
Anyways. So yes, I will be taking the Dallas Cowboys because I'm contractually obligated. I will take the Kansas City Chiefs because I'm contractually obligated to take the Chiefs. There's not more to be said there. I will take the Philadelphia Eagles over the New Orleans Saints. I just think. I don't know. I need to see more from the Saints before I can officially declare that. Now, obviously, the Eagles just completely blew it last night, but I don't know. I feel like they're going to rebound well. I just have a feeling
that game's in
Philly. It is in Philly, and the Philly fans were not happy. So the Eagles are going to want to definitely make that one up to them. Anyways. I will take the Arizona Cardinals over the Detroit Lions. I think the Cardinals are on fire. Kyler Murray's playing his best ball, and I just think there's something a little off with Detroit right now that they need to kind of get back on track. I don't think this is the game they get back on track. This game is also in Arizona, if I remember correctly. Take the Niners over the Rams just because the Niners they're banged up, but they're not as banged up as the Rams are. The Rams literally have like nobody. So I will take the Niners, and then I will take the Texans over the Vikings. I'm not sure if Justin Jefferson is going to play in this game or not. I know he's got that quad injury, but I just think the Texans are. I just think they're going to win this one. So, anyways, with that being said, I will send it to Dan Dembski.
Thank you, Carlos. Yes, so I am contractually obligated, signed and sealed and delivered contract to pick the Baltimore Ravens, so I will take them over the Dallas Cowboys. This is a big situation, a big game here for the Ravens. Must-win game. You go 0-3, and there's no chance of ever recovering statistically. So, must-win game. Defense is going to have to step up big time, and more than anything, going to have to, slow down Micah Parsons in that Dallas pass rush. It's going to be tough. But Ravens need to find a way. I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs over the Falcons. I know the Falcons are coming off a win last night in sort of stunning fashion, as Carlos alluded to. But it's Kansas City, and they're going to take care of business in this game. I will take the Saints over the Eagles. The Saints are on fire right now. I think it continues. And I don't like what I saw from Philly last night. I know it was a shocking defeat, last-second defeat. But they can't seem, and they've had a history of not being able to finish games at times. So, I'm going to take the Saints. I think they're going to continue their hot streak. I will take the Cardinals over the Lions. I think Carlos nailed this one. The Lions have some sort of issue right now. I can't quite sort out what it is. And Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray are playing at another level right now. So give me the Cardinals. I'll ride the hot hand on that one as well. I'll take the Niners over the Rams. I just think the Niners right now are just a more competitive team, more complete team right now, even with some of their injuries at Christian McCaffrey. Back at it again, getting hurt. Gotta do better, man. Gotta do better. And then finally, I will take the Houston Texans over the Minnesota Vikings. This one was kind of hard, so I just kind of said, but CJ Stroud, he's been impressive so far. Hasn't really had a down game. I think his impressiveness continues here, so give me the Texans. And with that, over to the founder of this great podcast, Josh Kirby.
All right. Thank you, Dan. I will be picking the Cowboys over the Ravens. I think the Cowboys against the Saints, I think the Cowboys can bounce back. It's going to be a tough game for the Ravens, seeing what the Ravens have done so far. But again, it could be a close game. That's my thoughts on that. I'll take the Chiefs over the Falcons. I'll take the Saints over the Eagles. I do think the Saints are looking rather explosive, but again, this could be a very close game. The Eagles coming off a loss to the Falcons on Monday night, and you look at this Eagles team, they might be angry and want to bounce back hard against the Saints. So I don't really know, but my gut's picking towards the Saints. We all know Motor City Dan Campbell is not happy at the way the Lions played against the Bucs, and I picked the Bucs. And this will be another close game. But Motor City Dan Campbell, I'll be darned if he doesn't come lighting his team on fire this week in practice, getting ready for a game against the Arizona Cardinals. I pick Motor City. I pick the Lions.
Wait, no biting off kneecap jokes?
He might bite off a couple.
I was waiting for it. I was like, where's the kneecap joke? He always makes a kneecap joke.
It's been a whole year.
Who knows? 49ers over the Rams. The Rams with a bunch of injuries. Unfortunate. Some injuries for the 49ers, but I still think the 49ers have the upper hand. And I will take the Texans over the Vikings. CJ Stroud and company looking pretty good so far. So with that, those are my picks. And our guest picker, my father, Ron Kirby.
The Godfather. Let's go.
Let's hear your picks.
All right. As much as I hate to do it, I really want to pick the Ravens, but I got to pick the Cowboys. I think they're both desperate for a win right now, but I think they're playing in Dallas, so I give the advantage to the Cowboys. Logic says to pick the Chiefs, especially the Falcons looked tough last night and really pounded the Eagles, but they're working on a short week. However, they're playing in Atlanta. So I'm going to pick Atlanta, carrying over after the win last night. And, same philosophy with the Eagles, except for I'm not picking the Eagles. I'm picking the Saints because they look pretty good.
I'm alone. I'm alone on an island over here.
Then I'm going to take the Cardinals with Dan and Carlos, basically because they're playing at home and they're playing good football. The Rams, I haven't seen anything out of them. I think I'm going to join everybody else with the 49ers. And I'm going to pick the Vikings on the last game strictly because they're going to be at home. And the horn's going to be blowing and everybody's going to be yelling, "Skol!"
That is a great fan base.
Absolutely.
The Vikings fan base is awesome.
The fan base travels to FedEx Field. You've seen a two-dab when the Commanders and the Vikings played, and Skol.
I didn't know there were that many Vikings fans in Washington, but
yeah, let's be honest. The away fans have been taking over that stadium for a few years now.
Yeah, it's quite
when we went to go see the Chiefs play there, it was mostly Chiefs fans.
But I wonder if that's unique to Washington because, just the nation's capital.
No, it also happens in Los Angeles as well.
Yeah.
Like Chargers games, it's literally the away fans.
Oh, yeah.
They don't even have Chargers. Like I know Chargers fans, but they were fans when they were in San Diego.
Right. But they never had a big fan base anyway.
That's true. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's
I
true.
mean, Washington once upon a time had a fan base, but
Yeah, it's true.
anymore.
Still has a fan base. It's just the team has to be good for the fan base to care.
Yeah, but back
To
in
come
my
back.
day, back in
Ooh,
our
no.
stadium, you'd have never seen the other team's fans take over
Right.
your stadium. It didn't happen.
Right.
I
Totally.
mean, the season tickets were sold out for 15 years. You couldn't. I was on a waiting list when they
Mhm.
bought FedEx Field. My ticket finally came up. I'd been on a waiting list for 15 years.
Wow.
Jeez.
Pretty wild.
They built it way over in Landover, and I wasn't going to drive all the way over there.
Yep.
Yeah, there you
Yep.
go.
It is a hike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Not to mention the prices went up.
Yeah, of course.
They always
Well,
go up.
guys, it was fun joining you, and I got to pack for the beach. So enjoy the rest of your
Oh,
Ooh, enjoy.
Thank you
Enjoy.
very
boy,
much.
much deserved.
To
thanks so
my
much, Ron.
father.
Yep, take it easy.
Alrighty. So
So
cool.
that was my father, Ron Kirby. Those were
The
The
Godfather. The
Pick 'em.
Godfather.
Ron Kirby.
We were
was
blessed
that
by the
was that a
Paisan,
good
baby.
surprise?
The Paisan.
Was
The
that a good
Paisan, baby. We got blessed by the Paisan.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Was that a good
Uh,
twist to guest picker?
No, that was cool. That's I like
I've
that.
debated saying like we should have a guest picker and then have like a guest picker square on the thing, but it would also take a lot of work to put on there. But
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
don't need a
listen, that's
special graphic. Yeah, I can just have them read off the picks. It's
Yeah,
fine. I like
get a
it
guest
this way.
picker and figure out what
well, look,
works
that's
best.
that's entire. That's
Put
up
on
to
the
you, bro.
headgear.
I think
Yeah.
that'd be cool. I
That's
think
up
that'd
to
be
you.
cool.
Yeah, you know what? We might pull a Lee Corso up here. God,
Yeah.
he's so old now.
Sad. Very
it makes
sad.
me sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Well, with that, gentlemen, episode 206 has concluded.
Oh, we do have a special announcement, by the way. We will now
Okay.
be charging a 10% talent tax on our tickets.
Yes, yes.
Let's go.
Yeah, that NIL stuff. Oh my god.
Yeah.
God, man, it's gonna ruin it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, man. But it was a bumpy ride, but we made it through. And as always,
It was
riding
really not that bumpy.
through the wilderness.
Sing it, Carlos.
Somehow we made it through.
in riding with the best team in the Kirby on Sports podcast, the Weapon Dan Dembski and the Swiss Army Knife Carlos Martinez.
Till next
Gentlemen, it is always an honor and a pleasure.
Like a virgin. Woo! Touched for the
time.
very first time.
We're gonna get copyright strike from this.
No, because we sound nothing like Madonna.
That's fair.
With that, our sponsors, PM Plus Reserve, Shenandoah Primitives, Transformative Alignment Group, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Barrett, Pest, and Termite Services, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, Shenandoah Music, and the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast, Don't Sleep Energy. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find the Kirby on Sports podcast on all streaming platforms, all listening platforms, www.kirbyonsports.com. As always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to create greatness. We say so long. We say peace out. And the Commanders are in first place.
Oh,